Pull up a chair, it's gonna be a long one. So if you're familiar at all with the McHusbands, you know that they went through surrogacy to have twin baby girls. And I was their egg donor. They are my best friends. And I had a whole video about me being an egg donor and the process that I went through. But I get a lot of questions now that the kids are born, how I feel about it, and if I have a certain connection with them, if it made me want kids, and all this stuff. So I wanted to make a little update video about how I'm feeling about the situation. So first off, I am going to be known as Aunt Julie to these two beautiful girls. Their names are Addison and Everest, and they are both the most adorable things I've ever seen. But backtrack a little bit, and if anybody knows me, they know that I despise children. And I know that's not the greatest thing to say, but I don't like kids. I think babies look like aliens. I've never wanted kids of my own. That's never been a dream of mine. And I've always been very, very stern on that position. If I could have had a hysterectomy or get my tubes tied at my age, I would. But of course, doctors think that you're going to change your mind. They don't let you do that. But that's always, always, always been my mindset. So that's why when I donated my eggs to my best friends, I was like, this is perfect. I can carry on the Ventura genes, and I don't have to take care of them myself. I just drilled a little bit there. So I can honestly say I didn't feel anything waiting at the hospital even, up until the point of them being born. I knew I was there for support of Eric and Adam, and I didn't have any feelings towards the babies inside of the surrogate. It just was a very distant thing to me. When they were born, I got to stay in the waiting room to wait for the babies to come out, and Eric pushed the little cart full of the babies in it into the room, and they were the cutest things I've ever seen in my life. And literally my first words, I'm pretty sure, were, oh my gosh, they don't look like aliens. Because to me, babies just are gross and they look like aliens. But these babies did not look like aliens. And I held Everest first, and she was so cute. It's so funny though, because when I held the baby, everyone was like, you can relax. Like, I don't associate with babies ever, so I never knew how to hold one. So obviously I was holding it all awkward and everyone's staring at me like I'm nuts, but so I held Everest first, and I just looked at her and I knew I did something really great, and I didn't have any sort of super maternal instincts, or I didn't feel like I fell in love with the babies, and I think that upset me later, which I'll talk about in a second. But it was a very genuinely beautiful moment to know that I created something, or helped create something that was so beautiful. And then I held Addison second, and as soon as they put her in my arms, she just started crying, and I was like, nope, take it back. I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to make it worse. Like, take it back. So it wasn't until like an hour later that I actually held Addison and she wasn't crying in my arms. I felt like they needed to enjoy their time with their kids, especially right when they're born. I didn't want to be too intrusive. I knew Corinne, the surrogate, really needed to rest, and I was like, I'm gonna go. Like, I waited with them for a very long time at the hospital. It was like more than a day, and I was like, I'm just gonna go home, and if you need anything, please let me know. I'll be there to help. So I ended up leaving that day, and it was only a couple hours after they were born that I left, and I was totally fine until I was driving back home, and I just broke down in tears and cried my little eyes out. And I know why I broke down, and it's because I was upset at myself for not falling in love with the babies. But I understand now I shouldn't have fallen in love with them because they're not my children. And I think what's most upsetting to me, I do love them. They're obviously a part of me, and they're part of, Eric and Adam, who are my best friends. So of course I'm always going to be there and be in their lives. But I think it really did give me that I know I really don't want kids for myself feeling. And while I always knew that, just to kind of get that solidified, that that's not part of what's going to complete my life, it's kind of upsetting because I don't know what is going to complete my life. And that just might sound over dramatic or whatever, but I mean, I don't have a boyfriend or anything, and I feel like I do have an empty part of me still. And knowing that children cannot fulfill that for me because I don't have that maternal instinct, it hit me. I cried for a really long time about it. But I'm okay with it now. I'm sure I'll figure it out. But the girls are beautiful. I do love them. And I just can't say I love them as my own children because I know that they're not my children, and I don't want to love them as my children because that would be wrong. I do go over there. I went over there the other day, and as soon as I got there, they were like, if you're gonna be at our house, you should probably learn how to hold a baby properly. So I was like, okay, that makes sense. So they showed me how to hold them properly, so, I wasn't all spastic with them. I fed Everest. I'm so glad I can tell them apart, because that was my biggest fear, is that I'd be like, oh, I don't know which one's which. They both have very distinctive features. I think Addison looks exactly like Adam, and I think Everest looks exactly like Eric. And if you look at baby pictures of me when I was a baby, I looked completely different from both of those babies and to what I look like now. I had a full head of hair. My hair was super dark. I had a very smushy face as compared to these babies. Like, I did not even look like my ethnicity. But time will tell when they grow if they do have any of my features. I'm just hoping they inherit all the good things and none of the bad stuff. But I will be a part of their lives. I'm excited to be a part of their lives. I also think it's important to add in what my family feels like. My mom had a very hard time with this whole situation prior to me even being an egg donor. She doesn't have any grandkids of her own, obviously, so having biological DNA out there in the world that could be considered biological grandchildren was a very hard thing for her to cope with. But once, of course, the babies were born, my whole family is very, very supportive, and I think my mom has been really great to give me the support I needed through all of this after the fact. And I think my family's really excited for Eric and Adam, and they couldn't stop saying how cute they were. They, want to send them gifts and everything. So I know that my family does want to be a part of this in any way that they can. But they're very clear in who they are towards the babies. But they still want to have some sort of connection with Eric and Adam, because we're all family now. And I think that's kind of a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this answered all the questions. If you have any other questions, let me know in the comments. And make sure, if you're not subscribed to the McHusbands, you subscribe to them. Link down below in the description box. And I'll see you guys soon.